Reusable refrigerant containers under high pressure must be hydrostatically tested how often? A. 1 year. B. 3 years. C. 5 years. D. 7 years. 5 years, right?
5 years. Yeah, that's correct. 5-year interval for those high-pressure refrigerant containers. Anything else you need?
Question 2. Crop loss, eye disease, and skin cancer have been attributed to A. Depletion of stratospheric nitrogen. B. Depletion of stratospheric chlorine monoxide. C. Depletion of stratospheric ozone. D. Depletion of stratospheric oxygen.
C. Depletion of stratospheric ozone.
Question 3. To process refrigerant to a level equal to new virgin product specifications as determined by chemical analysis defines reclaiming.
True. Reclaiming means processing refrigerant to match new virgin product specs through chemical analysis. Got another one?
HCFCs contain A. Chlorine, fluorine, and carbon. Hydrogen, chlorine, fluorine, and carbon. C. Hydrogen, fluorine, and carbon. D. Hydrogen, fluorine, and olefin.
B. Hydrogen, chlorine, fluorine, and carbon. That's what makes HCFCs distinct from CFCs. Next question?
Sounds like HCFCs aren't very good for the ozone.
Yeah, they do harm the ozone layer, just less than CFCs. They break down faster, but still release chlorine that messes with it. Want me to explain more or hit the next question?
A refrigerant cylinder designed to hold a recovered refrigerant has A. Yellow body and gray top. B. Gray body and yellow top. C. Green body and yellow top. Orange body and gray top.
A. Yellow body and gray top. That's the standard for recovered. B. Gray body and gray top. That's for recovered refrigerant. Yellow's for disposable ones. Orange for virgin. Sorry if I confused you.
How much can a person be fined per day per violation for knowingly releasing a regulated substance that violates the Clean Air Act?
Up to $124,426 per day per violation. That's the max civil penalty right now for Clean Air Act breaches, like releasing regulated refrigerants. Criminal fines could climb higher if it's willful, plus jail time, but civil's the big daily hit.
An ozone molecule contains A. 1 oxygen atom, B. 2 oxygen atoms, C. 3 oxygen atoms, D. 4 oxygen atoms.
C. 3 oxygen atoms. Ozone's O3, after all. Next one?
Question 8. Which of the following refrigerant has a GWP closest to 1? A. R22, B. R134A, C. R4110A, D. R1233CD.
D. R1233CD. That one's got a GWP around 1, unlike the others, which are way higher. R22 is around 1800, R134A about 1400, R410A nearly 2000. Need the details or on to the next?
A single chlorine atom can destroy how many ozone molecules?
Around 100,000 ozone molecules. One chlorine atom can trigger a chain reaction that keeps breaking down ozone until it's neutralized. Wild, right? Next question.
Which ASHRAE classification means slightly flammable? A, A1, B, A2L, C, A3, D, B1.
B, A2L. That's ASHRAE's tag for slightly flammable, low toxicity refrigerants. Ready for more?
Which type of refrigerant contains no chlorine? HCFCs, HCFC blends, HFCs, CFCs.
HFCs, no chlorine there. Just hydrogen, fluorine, and carbon. HCFCs have chlorine, and CFCs are loaded with it. You're thinking of HFCs, right? Next.
Before we move on to the other question, which type of refrigerant contains no chlorine? What does HCFC contain, and what does HCFC blends contain, and what do CFCs contain? I know the CFCs are the worst, but on the scale, which one's worst, HCFCs or HCFCs with blends?
HFCs contain hydrogen, fluorine, and carbon, no chlorine. HCFC blends have hydrogen, chlorine, fluorine, and carbon, with chlorine being the ozone killer. CFCs are just chlorine, fluorine, and carbon, so they're the worst for ozone depletion since they last longer in the atmosphere. HCFCs are less bad than CFCs, but worse than HFCs. Blends don't change that. HCFCs still release chlorine. Think HFCs are the safest bet. Ready for the next question?
The molecule found in CFCs and HCFCs that depletes ozone is chlorine, right?
Right. That chlorine atom in CFCs and HCFCs is what latches onto ozone and starts the breakdown chain. Good catch. What's next?
The low side test pressure data plate value should be used by a technician to determine a safe pressure for A, recovering refrigerant, B, leak testing, C, refrigerant charging, D, retrofitting a system.
B, leak testing. That's when you use the low side test pressure from the data plate to keep things safe during pressure checks. Onward.
Question 14. HFCs A will not damage stratospheric ozone, but have a high GWP. B will damage stratospheric ozone and have a low GWP. C will not deplete stratospheric ozone and have a low GWP. D are only harmful to ground level ozone.
A, HFCs won't hurt just for sea ozone since they lack chlorine, but their high GWP makes them a concern for climate change. Next one.
The condenser. A changes a high pressure vapor to a high pressure liquid.
That's right. The condenser's job is turning high pressure vapor into high pressure liquid by dumping heat outside. What's the rest of the question?
The compressor changes a high pressure vapor to a high pressure liquid. B. Changes a low pressure vapor to a high pressure vapor. C. Changes a high pressure liquid to a low pressure liquid. D. Changes a low pressure liquid to a low pressure vapor.
B. The compressor takes low pressure vapor and squeezes it into high pressure vapor. Keeps the whole cycle moving. Got another?
I'm trying to understand if the compressor turns a low pressure vapor into a high pressure vapor and the condenser converts a high pressure vapor into a liquid, how do you prevent that liquid from getting into the compressor?
The expansion valve, or metering device, goes between them. It drops the high pressure liquid from the condenser down to low pressure, so by the time it hits the evaporator and boils back into vapor, nothing liquid sneaks into the compressor. It's all about that pressure drop, keeping things safe. Make sense?
Okay. So, which of the following refrigerants is an HFO? R22,
HFOs
R134A, R410A, D, R1234ZE.
DR1234ZE. That's an HFO. The rest are older chemistries.
Before shipping any used refrigerant cylinders, check that the cylinder meets what standards? A. Department of Transportation. B. Significant New Alternatives Policy. Underwriter's Laboratory. All of the above. DOT, right?
A. Department of Transportation. Yep. DOT sets the shipping rules for pressure cylinders, like ensuring they're not overfilled or damaged. The others matter for safety, but RUVIS is the one for transport. What's next?
Question 19. Clean refrigerant for use by separating the oil from refrigerant and removing moisture from the refrigerant by passing it through one or more filter dryers is the definition of A. Recover, B. Reclaim, C. Reuse, D. Recycle.
D. Recycle. That just strips oil and moisture with filters, so it's good enough for reuse, not full-on reclaim.
They like to frame that as recycling here for some reason. They probably think that reclaiming should be way more advanced than that.
Yeah, reclaiming's basically the factory level reset, filtering and reprocessing till it's lab grade. Recycling's more like a field fix. Yank out water and oil, hope for the best. Guess it depends on who wrote the test. Want to tackle question 20?
Silicone elastomers for use in seals and gaskets are not compatible with which refrigerants? HCFCs, CFCs, HFOs, HFCs.
CFCs. Silicone elastomers swell and degrade fast with them, unlike HCFCs, HFCs, or HFOs, which play nicer. Next. Studies show they can cause swelling or breakdown in silicone seals over time, especially under heat or long exposure. It's not all of them, but enough that the EPA and test makers flag it as a risk. If your exam's picky, go with HFOs as incompatible. Fair enough?
What is the Significant New Alternatives Policy SNAP program? A. EPA's program that identifies refrigerants with lower overall risk to human health and the environment. B. Covers only CFCs and HCFCs refrigerants used in residential air conditioning. C. Relates to CFC and HCFC refrigerants used in commercial air conditioning. D. Covers only CFC and HCFC refrigerants used in industrial process refrigeration.
It's the EPA's SNAP program, scanning for safer refrigerants across all sectors, not just CFCs or HCFCs, and not limited to industrial refrigeration. Got it? What's up next?
Back door open.
Which international agreement treaty regulated the production and use of CFCs, HCFCs, halons, methyl chloroform, and carbon tetrachloride? Montreal Protocol, Kyoto Treaty, Council of Nicaea, Treaty of Ghent.
Montreal Protocol, signed in '87. It phased out those ozone eaters worldwide. Kyoto's more about greenhouse gases, and the others aren't even relevant. Next question?
The chlorine in CFCs and HCFCs will dissolve in water, will not dissolve in water, will rain out of the atmosphere, is heavier than air, and cannot rise to the stratosphere.
Will not dissolve in water. That chlorine stays locked in CFCs and HCFCs until sunlight hits them up high and breaks them apart. Good one.
24. Recover any remaining refrigerant and then render the cylinder useless. Then recycle the metal is the proper disposal method for recovery cylinders, 1 pound can, disposable cylinders, accumulator cylinders.
B. 1 pound cans. Those aren't meant for reuse, so you pull what's left and scrap them.
Which
Real
of the
recovery
following
cylinders get
has the
refilled or
highest
refurbed.
which of the following has the highest ozone depletion potential? HFOs, HCFCs, HFCs, CFCs. My guess is CFCs.
CFCs. Yep. They're the kings of ozone damage, lasting decades up there. HCFCs are milder. HFCs and HFOs don't touch ozone at all.
Thank you very much.
Anytime. Let me know if those questions come back to haunt you.
Okay, we just studied for 2018 core practice exam, 9th edition manual. Let's see what else we can study and cover so we can ace that. Now I gotta go to section 1 and then section 2 after this video to be able to study for the EPA 608 exam fully.
Cool. Sounds like you're diving deep. Section 1 covers Type 1 cert, small appliances under 5 pounds, right? Like recovery gear, leak rates, all that. What part do you want to start on?